welcome to Geekology. I'm David.
And I'm Sven.
And tonight, Battle of the Partworks!
Well, yes, Battle of the collections of graphic novels, or comics, or whatever you want to call them. It's basically, if you've been in the UK for the last few weeks, I very much doubt you've managed to miss the fact that Eaglemoss are starting to do all the Star Trek comics.
It's just Partworks season. It's Partworks season across the board. If you want to spend over $1,000 for an R2-D2, that's how you do it. If you want to spend, what is it, £900
on a DeLorean,
that's how you do it. If you want massage oils and little bits of rock costing you, I think it was 1,300.
Yeah,
then you can do that too.
Or you could have something useful.
To be fair, I normally buy issue 1, issue 10 and issue 15 of the calligraphy set whenever they release it, because those are the good ones. Those are the ones with all the extra inks and it. So
now in the past there has been, in the UK at least, and I don't know how far it's gone across the world, both Marvel and DC have done hardback graphic novel series, and I think one was it one Eaglemoss and one Hachette? I'm sure, something like that. But for 2017 we have the Battle of Eaglemoss with the Star Trek graphic novel collection, pulling on 50 years worth of Star Trek comics. It's going to be 51 years worth by the time they're finished, I've got a feeling, if not more.
It'll be more.
Battling the definitive G1 collection from Transformers, and by definitive they basically mean any G1 comic ever produced. In
all fairness, the Star Trek universe has more content to go for than of your universe. Lots of companies have released Star Trek comics over the years, and they've got the rights to all of them.
British G1 comic alone, over 300 issues.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was weekly.
Ding ding. Still beats it.
It doesn't even come close. You really know. I mean, they're already talking about this is 80 issues before they even start extending it. And look, they're almost double the thickness. So, to kick off with, Eaglemoss have released issue 1 of their collection with Countdown, which is the prequel comic from the 2009 film, or the prequel comic series as it was.
And if you haven't read it, you need to read it. It's the only way the bloody film makes sense.
And at least the only way you will find out how it
all the interesting stuff
into things.
Whereas, and it was the first one that they said was Star Trek canon.
Yes, first comic that was ever actually officially canon in the Star Trek universe. But that's
very debatable.
Opens up a whole can of worms, which we'll get back to in a moment. This, however, was up against this heavyweight, which is Transformers, and quite possibly the biggest of the British stories, which is Target 2006, which was written to coincide with the release of the 1986 animated movie. And is therefore quite a big deal for British fans. So, what is it?
Okay, well, there's a couple of things.
Go on.
Right. Try and keep it quick, and then we'll move the video along. Okay, so first question that is in. I know why there are multiple issues here, because one of them's going to be a pre-release, one of them's a release. But why have you got 3 of them?
Right, okay. That is from the test run from late last year.
Okay, I accept that.
Okay.
So why have we got 2?
That's the subscriber release.
So it's a packaging variant.
Yeah. And that's that's one of the variants that's on the shop floor. On the shop floor.
Okay, that's fine.
There's actually 2 running around on the shop floor. One with the backing card, and one that looks like that, but with a small backing card kicking up.
Okay.
And that's basically
last question. I'm going to regret this. This is going to lead to a 10-minute story. Says issue 6 then.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't say issue 6. It quite clearly says issue 1. But I get the feeling that they had to put the sticker on saying issue 1
just to point out the fact
it says 6, and that picture is quite clearly not the beginning part of anything. So
there we go.
What?
We'll do a shot of that. That is basically what they're aiming for as the mural across all of the first set of issues.
Right.
Basically, if you do all the G1 comics in chronological order, that is volume 6 of the comics.
Okay.
Which is why. And issue 2...
Story 6 or volume 6?
Volume 6, because the stories, some of the stories are a bit shorter than others and so on and so forth. That's actually got Target 2006 and then some of the American stories that followed it in the comic run in the UK.
Okay.
Which makes sense. Whereas issue 2, I think, is volume 36 or something ridiculous. Let's have a look. Yes, issue 2 is volume 36, which is a jump up to a later era of comics with Dreamwave.
Right. And one very quick question before you start actually telling the audience, just because you can tell me, because I don't get it. The aspect ratio doesn't look quite right.
We'll come back to that.
Is that a thing?
That's the thing.
Okay, so
I'm going to open this up because this is my subscriber issue of the final one. Because there are reportedly differences. I think there's something daft, but yeah. And we have since learnt that there will be another copy of this coming out to me and every other subscriber because they've misprinted the spine.
oh, that's a massive error.
It's not that massive an error though. It's daft.
Go on, what have they misprinted?
You see where it's got the volume number
Yeah.
and there's a black border around it?
Mhm.
It's too far down.
So it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's quite daft in a lot of ways, but yeah, and they've.
So
they've
did they
taken-
email you and notify you? Excuse me, we are sending you this one out because we made this error. Or
Yeah,
just,
they basically it was pointed out by some fans, and they've owned the error. They basically put their hands up and said we're doing another production run of the comic of this volume
We
to
can't
make
handle
up
that.
for what, a couple of millimetres or so. You immediately see on the edge the mural is in completely different positions from the test print to the final version.
Yeah, but that makes sense
That
with the
makes
test
sense.
print.
But the cut-off line there, oh God, it's so hard to see. Basically, the
I can
cut-off
see the
there,
cut-off.
they see where it's moved.
Yeah.
That's a cock-up. So basically, there's going to be another issue.
Can we get
one.
away with saying that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just did. There's going to be another copy of this coming out to me where that line's back up where it should be. I'm just like, that's what, half a centimetre? I'm like, okay. I
That's
don't think I'm
visibly.
that-
Hang on, put those back up. No, on the side.
Of course, as is normal with this type of collection, you get a guide to the collection with issue 1 to try and sell you the thing for subscribing
You mean to try and
Yeah.
explain what the numbers don't mean?
or that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a bit of detail about what they're planning to do. So what essentially this is going to be is a collection of all of the Generation 1 comics ever produced. From Marvel up until present day with IDW with Dreamwave in the middle. Okay? One of the things they're skipping, which when you read the title of the series makes sense, which is G2, but G2 was a continuation of the G1 storyline. But when they did Regeneration 1, which was a continuation of the G1 comic from the issue that finished in the States and onwards, it actually contradicted G2, which basically pushes G2 into another continuity. There's enough
Where did the
continuity.
Ladybird books
Oh,
come
that's
into this?
another continuity entirely.
Oh.
Yes, there's plenty of them. But the interesting thing is with the British comic especially is that for British fans, the British comic has a tendency to be their continuity, their G1, because we didn't the cartoon series 1 we got it late, 2 it was butchered. So basically, this is the storylines that most people in Britain grew up with as their Transformers. Whereas in comparison, the majority of Star Trek comics aren't really regarded as canon in any way, shape or form. Yeah. There are still cock-ups in this final version though. So for instance, Jazz, no, that's Prowl. How that one got past,
I know
no
that one.
idea.
I know.
So-
I know that one.
It describes Jazz, but gives you a picture of Prowl, so that's a bit silly.
It is in the leaflet trying to convince you how good their product is.
Especially when the trial run, everybody picked that out on both the website and on this leaflety thing.
And said,
all
by the way,
fans
guys-
guys, that's Prowl. Anyway,
Oops.
oops. And that was what the issues that were in the test run originally, which were Tiger 2006, Stormbringer, The Primal Scream, Edge of Extinction.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it folds out to be this.
It's a pretty picture.
It's a pretty picture. It's
actually a really nice picture.
It's a Japanese piece of artwork. So yeah, that's quite cool. I believe it's Japanese. I say that again. I believe it's Japanese because the first time I ever saw it, to my knowledge, was in a Japanese book.
Okay.
So I may be wrong about that, but that's basically how I know it. So yes, and there's describing your subscription gifts. If you do subscribe, you get key rings, you get a wallet, bookends. That's actually really quite clever.
Sense. Yeah.
Tin plate cover. That doesn't. And a Transformers mug. Yeah, and a little bit about the next issue, which is Stormbringer primarily, but also a couple of spotlights as well. Or is it just the one spotlight?
Why does the tin plate cover not make sense to you? It makes sense to me.
I'm not entirely convinced they're the original artwork. It might be. I don't know. It's just something that to me I'm just like, something to put on the wall. Not too bothered. Whereas the bookends, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. That's a good idea. So there'll be another copy of issue 1 coming out. I'm quite enjoying this, but let's compare it with what Eaglemoss are producing now. I haven't opened that yet. That is actually my copy. So if you want to get that one, the tracking card.
So Star Trek. So shall we start with the magazine bit?
Yeah, the brochure thing.
Brochure. Okay. You have a gander through that, and I'll have a quick peruse through
the graphic novel collection. So we're looking at 60 issues to start with, I think, on this, if I remember rightly. They're doing the whole sort of like spine illustration freeze thing across the collection. Covering all 50 years thus far of Star Trek comics. So they're covering everything from IDW, from Tokyo Pop, Wildstorm, Paramount Comics, Malibu, DC, Marvel, the British strips, and the Gold Key stuff. So
actually, to be fair, really chuffed that they're covering the Gold Key stuff, and I will be picking those up.
Okay, and the British stuff where the ship lands and the bottom sensor dome comes down as an elevator. Yeah. Maybe not. Don't think that's canon.
To be fair, there's a handful of these comics I would quite like to have, because I've got the originals. Yeah. And I would like to have another version of them.
Not guilty about reading.
No, because I read my individual comics because I know how to treat comics. So I can give it to other people going, read this, and then give me it back. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people don't know how to treat comics.
Yes. So literally covering everything from classic Trek all the way up to Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, etc. and back to the 2009 film. The subscription gift's been an iconic lapel pin, a complete set of movie prints in a collector's tin. 2 classic covers printed in metal. Again,
I quite like
bookends.
Yay! Okay, the bookends make sense, although the bookends mentioned in the leaflet are not the same as these bookends, because one of them is Klingon.
Okay, that's interesting. So yes, you've got 2 Starfleet ones on there, and that one's got a Klingon one on it. And then upgrade your subscription. And you'll receive 4 amazing photo novels that use doctored photographs to create the new stories of Captain Kirk and his crew. I don't think that's worth the extra £1, is it?
£1 per issue to get those 3.
So if it's 60 issues, that's £60 to get 4 books.
4? Is it 4?
4 books, yes, 4 books.
Oh yeah, it's 4 books.
So that's what, £15 each?
Yep.
No!
I've got to edit that because it didn't sound quite right. So I'll have another run at trying to explain it. Okay, so to be honest with people right from the get-go, I'm not subscribing to this at all. It's not that this isn't good, because this is Sven's copy. I butchered my copy earlier. I think that the price is fine.
Yeah.
The quality of the print is fine. I don't like all of the Star Trek comics from they've got the right to do 50 years worth of comics, which is fantastic if you've not had a chance to read them. I have almost all the Gold Key. Actually, I have all of the Gold Key, but there are photo covers and bits that I'm missing, and I'd like to complete those. And there's a handful of others over the years that I've followed the stories and I liked. But well over half of the ones for the Star Trek universe were crap.
Yeah.
So, not interested. I will admit though, I would like the metal covers. I'd quite like the typing. The bookends are nice. The butchered photo ones, I'm not so sure about that. But oh yes, do I want those.
Well, the prizes from that competition.
Oh yes, I want those prizes. Really want those. Yeah. Not going to happen.
No. But,
right, so
getting to the story itself, I already know Countdown. I love Countdown.
He really does. He's got a big thing for Countdown.
I think this should have been filmed.
I'm going to leave yours there, still in its packaging. We can flip through mine. So,
nice image of the Enterprise E.
nice image of the Enterprise E.
Which is the first thing you expect from a 2009 film prequel.
Yeah. They just did a really nice job of reprinting this. The alternative uniform, which I love.
Yes. Well, it's the Star Trek Online uniform, isn't
it, really? It is. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. But it's an accurate reprint for the and did you notice that they did the so it is what it is. It's lovely, and I got this one issue purely because I wanted a hardback print of Countdown,
because it's that good a story.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story, and I couldn't knock the price.
And it ties up so much of the silliness from the 2009 movie. For instance, it explains that Geordie was the guy who designed the jellyfish. Things like that. It's a great comic. And the IDW comics that tie into the JJ Universe films make a lot of sense because they fill in some of the gaps and explain what the hell was going on and why things are quite so different.
And I must admit, the other reason why I got it, because there was two reasons why I got it. I got it because I wanted that story, but also I had a sneaky suspicion that they would throw stuff in.
Yeah.
And they did. They threw in on the last few pages. You can actually see the colour difference.
Yeah.
They actually threw in for the last few. A gold key.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to see what. Now, again, that's the one of the photo covers, and photo covers for gold key were they're expensive. But I wanted to see what the quality of the print was going to be like, whether they'd stayed true to the colours, and I have to say, I found it really weird looking at it like this. I found this hard to look at.
Right.
The colour is wonderful. It is. But the paper's wrong. Because it's not the comic. It's not faded to, it has that wonderful yellow texture to it, and this doesn't have that.
Right.
It doesn't have the feel of the material because the paper's completely different.
It's a much lower grade paper.
It's a completely different tactile thing for me. But as I said, I must admit there are issues that I will be picking up because I want this reprinted version.
Yeah.
It doesn't have quite the same. There's almost a sort of romantic, sort of nostalgic feel to. Well, you know it yourself with old comics.
Completely.
That this does not have. Mm-hmm. And I see. I don't know how you feel about those. But I know that Transformers G1 was Marvel big print popper paper.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you feel when handling this sort?
Let's moving this out of the way a little bit. Let's have a look at this. let's compare this, because this is the subscriber copy I got through. This is the proper issue 1 from the final run, even though it's getting a reprint because of that daft error on the spine. Okay, it's the wrong size.
It's the wrong size.
I know this.
But actually, to be fair, for most of them, that's the wrong size.
But at least it's been increased in size.
It's been increased, yeah. But
this has been in 2006. Seminal story of the original Generation 1 British comic. So good, I named a convention after it. Auto Assembly Target 2006. One of the ideas of that convention was to try and get as many people who worked on Target 2006 in the same room together. Kind of worked. That's not quite to the degree I was hoping. But yes, this is in fact too small. There have been reprints before. This is a hardback in the correct scale, and this is a softback in the correct scale, which were produced by Titan Books back in the 2000s.
Not 2006. No.
And as you can see, there is a bit of a significant difference in the size of comic. So if we just look at, let's see. Right, there's one of the early appearances of, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, I figured I'm just here as eye candy now, so you know, what have I got to contribute to this?
Ladies and gents, if any of you consider him eye candy, please leave a comment below so I can wonder what the hell's wrong with your optician. So let's go to this one shot of Emrys.
Oh, we're not doing this page to page.
No, not completely.
Oh, okay.
There are reasons why I'm picking this particular page.
Okay.
That will become evident quite shortly. Okay, right, obviously...
Don't call me shortly.
But you are. Obviously, there is a bit of a size difference between those two. Okay? When it was first
In all
printed-
fairness, hang on. In all fairness, there is a bit of a size difference, but they did whack a much larger border around that.
That's true. But
They have increased.
that doesn't feel like the ratio is correct. It feels a little bit stretched.
Actually, when I was looking through that, the ratio didn't look right.
Here's the original comic. So there we are. That's seen better days, to be fair, because I have read this about 1 million times.
It's got that lovely smell.
Yes, it has. So obviously...
Do you think maybe they should scent the new books? Do you think that would help give them that old feel?
Possibly. You big weirdo. Now obviously the border on that's not as big as that, but the ratio is the same. Whereas that, again, I don't think the ratio is quite right. But just to really hammer that home.
Oh, hang on, that's cheating. Not many people would have access to those.
That's definitely the right ratio.
Oh, is that the right ratio?
That's definitely the right ratio.
Does that help when you have the original thing?
Yeah, when you have the original artwork, that kind of gives it away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Hi.
So, yes.
You're touching that without gloves. Just mentioning it. Yeah.
Good job I washed my hands then, didn't it? Stop it. But yes, the British comics, as they will be reproduced in this...
So is that a final print
collection.
card for that one?
Yeah, before it got coloured.
No.
This would have been copied and then coloured.
Me. Nice.
So the British comics are being presented in a slightly shrunk, slightly different sort of like ratio. In my mind, it's not quite as I remember it. So yeah, that's an interesting difference, shall we say?
Is there more in the bag?
There
is
is
more
more
in the
in the
bag.
Yes.
I can only apologise to our viewers at this stage.
But I don't think I need to show you any more of them, to be fair, because that's just basically gives you an idea of where I'm coming from on that. So, but it's very, very hard to get hold of any of the older reprints now. And even the IDW have reprinted them, and again, it's still quite difficult to get hold of.
Okay, you do know that when they release, I have a couple of gold key panels.
Yeah.
And when they print the gold key ones, I'm going to do an episode where I'm going me. Okay.
Fair play.
I'm just saying.
That's fine. So yeah, bearing in mind that, it's still really nice to see. Now, if you look at because the Target 2006 story is actually British, whereas the last last story or so in the back of this. I mean, the American comic looks like it's come out perfectly well, and the British comic, it's. I mean, it's not. It doesn't look like it's quite the way it's been scaled down a bit. It's nice to have it in that size because for a lot of people that's too big.
I'll tell you what. Let's look at this another way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is one of the reasons I'm pleased this exists. Yeah. Which is there are. Me and you both know that some of those back issues are A, horrendously hard to get, B, unbelievable money.
Yeah.
It means that people don't get to read some of the comics. Now, granted, over the years, lots of people have done things. We're not going to discuss the legality of them, but lots of people have gone, you know what, you wanted to read this story? I've scanned it in PDF, there you go. That's the entire story arc. Yeah. Which, I have to say, legalities aside...
Sucks.
Oh, you're joking, I think those people rock.
Really?
Yeah, because it means that, okay, granted, you know, there's an argument that he devalues the comics, but I love those comics and I own an amount of them. But I think it's a wonderful thing because it means that new fans that could never have afforded them or found them get to read those stories.
Yeah.
I'd be happier if the comic companies had released them in the digital. I know that some do now, but not all of the silver and gold. I mean, the Trek ones go back too far. And again, they did different prints between the American print for because the American prints, they also did what they call abroad prints.
Yeah.
Which were ones available at newsstands rather than comic shops, or ones that would get sent to army bases rather than being available. So you've got all these different print variants kicking around.
Yeah.
Where this eliminates that, and I think that's not, because it means that more people have access to it.
Absolutely. And for me,
but yours is better value for money in one respect.
Which is? It's more pages. So
Content. You get bigger content.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Star Trek stories are always smaller, always. So
I mean, it
you're
helps.
going to get more.
It helps in this case that it was you know, I mean, the main story, Target 2006, was in a British weekly comic and stretched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 issues.
Do you know what's really fun?
Issues. What?
Completely off. Well, it's kind of on topic, but off topic. You know that I've got a big thing for Dark Horse comics.
Yeah.
One of my three companies I really like. I really liked Golkey, who did lots of early sci-fi comics. I really liked Image Comics back in the day, and I really liked Dark Horse. And Dark Horse did Alien comics in America. Marvel printed Dark Horse Alien comics, and it's still got the Dark Horse logo on. They literally just went bink. So we got from Dark Horse
That's
to
nice.
Marvel, straight up. And so some of those Alien stories in the British formats, so much nice.
It's a bit more detail. Now, being as I'm a subscriber to this.
Oh, you subscribe to this?
I'm a subscriber.
Who would have guessed?
Who'd have thought?
Is this going to be a regular thing?
Yes.
Oh God. Is this on top of educating Dave?
Yes.
Oh God.
So I've had my first subscriber gift. I'm getting a replacement subscriber gift because that Autobot logo is knackered on that keyring. So I'm getting a replacement.
Oh yeah, your paint job's crap.
It's completely shagged up.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm going to open my
send them
proper
photos
issue
and bits like a little girl.
I didn't even need to do that. I just emailed them. Yeah, this isn't right. Anyway, yeah, fair enough. Some people have had 2 Autobot keyrings instead of a Decepticon, Autobot, 1 Decepticon. I wouldn't have moaned.
I would have. Like the Decepticon logo.
Okay, so issue 2, which is volume 36, Stormbringer Test Run.
Right.
That's the final version. There is there is one thing they did in the test run which is really silly, is that the first inside cover is just a copy of the one from issue 1.
Right.
It should have been the IDW Universe version.
Oh, I like the yellow tin.
Yeah. What I think they might be doing there, and don't quote me on this because obviously I haven't seen any other issues from this yet, is that it wouldn't surprise me if they don't colour code it for depending which era it is.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah, so you've got the original Marvel G1, whether it's British or American, then you'll have the Dreamwave era, and then you'll have the IDW era.
Okay.
Which is where the rights went through.
Yeah.
In here we have, if you want to flip through that one, because I think that the content is reasonably similar. It's just that the spine's different. There's a bit of the introductory to the IDW universe.
I've got a question.
Go on.
Which print is this?
That's
American or English?
American.
Right. In the American comics, did they chop off the edges of the borders like they have done here?
Now.
Oh, hang on.
I've got a
They've
feeling.
changed that from page to page. On this one, the top borders are missing.
I've got
On
a
this
feeling
one,
it
the
was
bottom
like that
borders
in the
are
original
missing.
comic, because my only knowledge of the IDW universe thus far really has been digital. As
Okay.
I've got them as downloads from IDW.
Yeah.
Through one of the
When they did the proper.
It was through a charity site actually.
Yeah.
It was through Humble Bundle.
Oh, I remember you mentioning those.
Yeah.
You were really chuffed about that.
Yeah, I was really
at the time.
chuffed about it, and and to be honest with you, I'm still struggling to get into IDW stuff.
I like IDW as a company. They've done some tremendous bits.
My problem being is that I know the characters from the original G1 as the characters from the original G1, and they've altered them.
Really? Not as much as Bay did.
You have a point, but they did turn Prowl into a murdering psychopath pretty much. So yeah,
Okay.
not so happy with that. I'm hoping that having physical versions of the IDW stuff might actually get me to deal with it a bit better. Right, looking at this as it is, and going back to this presentation pamphlet, there's something that does stick out to me as annoying, and that's this design for the front cover that they're going with for all of the issues that appear.
Not
Where
this.
it's got
The colour strike.
Yeah, well, that
What's annoying about that?
I don't have a huge problem with the colour strike. What I have a problem with is this generic artwork at the top, which is not from any of the comics.
Well, where have they got the artwork from?
This was created specifically as marketing material.
Well, what a perfect idea. They're marketing the book.
Yeah, but it was for things like wrapping paper
So?
and stuff like this, and it's been influenced by the cartoon series.
Oh, there we go. Why is your thing with the cartoons there?
Well, let's have a look at the Optimus Prime image for a start, where he's got blue eyes.
I do. Okay, me and you have had
Megatron's got
these
red
discussions.
eyes.
Maybe, yeah,
I'm
no,
like-
that's wrong.
Yeah, this in the G1 comics, and bearing in mind this is the G1 comic in here. Let's find Megatron, shall we? Inside.
So,
the
so
comic.
your issue is that you want the outside of the book to be representative
of the contents. That would be nice.
Okay. Yeah, but that is a fair criticism.
Which I think would be appropriate, personally. But let's have a look. Where's a picture of Megatron? Just to give you an idea.
I'm sorry. I know this one's. I accept this one. This one's my bad. I poked him with the stick. I do sometimes think he hands me the stick and goes, "Notice the stick. Look at the shiny, shiny."
Right, in the British comics and the American comics for that matter, that's how Megatron appears.
Yep.
Okay, he's got yellow eyes because that's the colour eyes he had in the toy, and he's got a blue helmet. Blue helmet makes no sense because at no other point did he have a blue helmet on his head. Will you stop it?
So I just
Stop.
keep thinking that Megatron should be purple. I'm waiting for you to mention his purple helmet.
This is why I'm saying blue and not falling for that. So,
Which Megatron was it that was purple?
the Beast Force one.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. With his rubber duck.
So you compare that. I'm gonna go back to the good old days.
I compare the Megatrons.com. Don't worry, there will be a story later on in this series where there's 2 Megatrons running around. You'll love that. Sure.
Dual pistols.
No, one's a Stratus.
One's a what?
Straxus.
It's a Stratus.
You'll find out. Ravage gets confused, so will you.
Okay.
Hang
on, so the dunce. Harsh.
Ravage.
That's really
What?
harsh.
Anyway, so I do find that use of that artwork a little bit strange, especially being as that's how they're making up the spine artwork, is using that generic stuff. However,
look at me holding my gut. That's a good pick. That's a good pick. Not of him, it's just a really nice one of the uniform.
Anyway, that is quite a minor thing in the great scheme of things.
That's what she said.
Make sure.
And do you wish they'd done those?
And at the end of the day,
it's
one
nice.
of the most important things that they're doing with this, for British fans especially, is there's a lot of black and white stories they did in British comics because they were, well, let's face it, cost cutting to keep the comic going. There's a lot of stories from the Earth Force era and things like that.
Do they include stuff like that in the Transformer ones?
I'll show you in a sec.
No.
And it's basically a lot of stories like that that John Paul Bove is going to be recolouring, and I've had a word with him, and he has said that the colouring is going to matching in what?
No, nothing. Carry on with your story.
And he has said that the colouring is going to match the era, so I'm just thankful.
That's nice.
Yeah, he's going to try and match up with how it would have been at the time had it been coloured then. Whereas with Regeneration 1, which was recent, the colouring seemed to be directed a little bit more by Hasbro. And didn't match the earlier G1 comics so much. So, yeah, fingers crossed for that. That should be pretty good. And yes, basically there's little bits on the story so far and introducing where the stories have come from.
It shouldn't take us as long to review these as it does for people to read them, yeah?
Probably not. And there is a cover gallery, which is quite useful.
You see, that's nice.
Yeah. Which is a must-have as far as I'm concerned. And a bit about the Transformers movie, because obviously this story tied into that quite a lot. So, yeah. In fact, they're reprinting some of the stuff from the comic they did at the time. What would have been nice is a reprint of the poster magazine. That would have been cool. And then explaining the Wreckers as well, which is the key personnel. The entire Wreckers squad of key personnel, so at least it's the Autobots version of the SAS.
I know who the Wreckers are.
They rock, literally.
Oh God, I know who the Wreckers are.
Yes. Gotcha. So, definitely go and buy issue 1 of the Transformers one. I'd go and buy issue 1 of the
issue 1 of the Trek one.
Buy issue 1 of both of them. Go grab it. See what you think. I would recommend the Transformers one simply because the storylines are epic and the characters in the Marvel G1 stories especially are much closer to the original characters as written for the toys than they were in the cartoon series.
Okay. So my comment would be definitely go get this one because it's a beautiful tie-in. Explains a lot about the film. If you are tempted to subscribe to this, I would strongly recommend you Google some of the companies who have released Star Trek comics over the years, because there have been a few, and they have massively differed in quality, and not only the quality of the artwork, but the quality of the writing.
Yeah.
Additionally to that, they're spanning all of the Treks. So I would recommend that you know what you're getting yourself into. See, you're easy.
Yeah.
In the
'cause this is
English in America, it's G1, and it's Transformers. But Star Trek, when it comes to the comics, it's a bit more complicated than
Because if this was Transformers full stop, and you'd have G2, Armada, Energon, RID,
different kettle of
Prime,
fish.
and you'd be like, you'd be going in the same direction as that, where it's a confusing mixture of.
See, I'm going to cherry pick with these.
Yeah.
Purely because there are some comic companies that are no, just no. And people can't say I didn't give it a try.
Yeah.
Because there were a few where I bought them, read the stories and went cheap, just never again. Yeah. And then years later when people have quizzed me on them, I've got the digital copies and gone, no, my analysis was right the first time I know I'm funny about the comics I like, but Sven will tell you the comics I like I am massively defensive about and will protect because I think it's a wonderful medium. Sven and I read comics in different ways. I'm dyslexic and it took me I was very late teens, early 20s before I could read. And I overly romanticize them because that's the way I feel about it. I am a very tactile person. For me, it's a whole thing. As far as a battle between these go, you're getting better quality content-wise because you're getting more. I would argue that Trek fans are actually doing slightly better out of this deal than the Transformer fans. Purely because you've had reprints of some of your stories. And whilst the Marvel were weekly, they did reprint.
Well, yeah, they did collected comics at the times.
Not for Trek.
No.
Not for Trek. So there are some companies that the stories are gone.
Yeah.
Unless, you've got hold of a digital copy, they're gone. So reprint from that point of view is fantastic for Star Trek fans. But only if you're into classic Trek.
Yeah.
If you're not into classic Trek, you can get all the newer ones. The newer ones, they're not as hard to get a hold of. Absolutely. So swings and roundabouts, I feel.
Yes, absolutely. And I think your best bet is to pick up issue 1 of either of them, both of them, see how you feel about it. Target 2006, if you like the Target 2006 story, then you'll probably like all of the British Generation 1 stuff. And you've also got to bear in mind that the guys who wrote the British Generation 1 then went on to work on Dreamwave and IDW. And some of the guys who are working on IDW now, who've come up through the ranks, are fans of the original Marvel G1, and in fact, more than a couple actually wrote in fanzines, Transformers fanzines back in the day. So it is
different thing for you than
if you like the G1, then you probably want it.
I'd just say that it's worth. This one's just worth getting for the background for the film.
Yeah.
It's also nice to see how they've reprinted the Gold Key.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, well, I think we've waffled enough. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube. You can follow us on both Facebook and Twitter, and of course, there is the official Geekology website. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Bye.
Well, this is going to be an interesting video. I get to hear you waffle on about Transformers. Transformers, boredom in the skies. Right, I better turn the camera on actually.
That would help.
I wonder how many amazing fuck-ups I'm going to do that will make it to the bloopers.
All of them.
I'm thinking coffee across the first 2 issues. Be interesting, there's only 1 issue there, but still.
Yes, quite. And oh look, they're almost double the thickness.
As any real man would know, it's not the size that counts. Not gay.
Anyway, so issue
Is that
1.
the shoulder you sling it over? I'm just you play. What's you play with the tip? What's with the? Huh? Anyway, hello.
We can make up for what, a couple of millimetres of cock up.
Please leave that in. Please leave that in. Which is what every woman will say to you with a couple of millimetres of cock up.
That's when they start screaming.
Oh, please listen. Do me a favour. If you don't use that as a blooper, could you at least send me a copy? Right.
Oh dear.
Let's try and compose.
Yes. Because this
This how it should be.
is the size it should be.
I knew.
And these are the Titan reprints from some years ago. This would be in the 2000s at some point.
What, like 2006, for instance?
No, that's the name of the story, Muppet Boy.
Edit. Edit the fucking out. Edit the name. Fuck you. There we go. Fuck. A broken spoon.
Now, this first issue, which is volume 6, Target 2006, as I mentioned earlier, is a seminal story.
Sven.
Yes.
I was winding you up. I didn't know it was Target. You just said it was Target. It was on Target. I read that earlier. I thought you'd think that was funny. I didn't mean for you to put them all away. I thought you'd just call me a pillock and we'd carry on.
You're a pillock.
You didn't carry on.